Good morning. The time is 9:04 and I'm calling this meeting to order. My name is Wendy Hartman. I'm with with Planning and Environmental Review. I will be serving as today's hearing officer. This is the Sacramento County Zoning Administrative Hearing for January 19th. And this hearing is being recorded. I will now read the official announcement. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, please dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in the queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When I open public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, you will then be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make your verbal comment. Of course, written comments are always accepted, and you can send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. Any decision made at today's hearing may be appealed within 10 days to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the current filing fee is $3,935. At this time, I would like to ask the hearing clerk to administer the oath.
Please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this committee is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm?
I do.
Thank you.
Could you please call the first item?
Certainly. Item 1 is to approve the action summary from December 15th, 2021.
I have reviewed the minutes and approved the action summary. Item number 2, please.
Item 2 is PLMP 2019-00361 Haygood Cargo Containers, continued from October 20, 2021. Previously, item number 3. It's located at 2860 Alberta Road on the southwest corner of Alberta Road at Scotland Drive in the Antelope community. The request is for a minor use permit and design review. Related request is a special development permit. An environmental document is exempt.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Emma.
Wonderful, thank you. So good morning, this is Emma Patton. I am the project manager for the Haygood Cargo Containers project. Next slide, please. This project has come to the zoning administrator on a couple of occasions before today. But as a refresher, this project is located at the corner of Alberta Road and Scotland Drive in the Antelope community. It's developed with a single-family home, several accessory structures, and 7 cargo containers exist on the site today. Next slide, please. The site is 1.89 acres and zoned AR5. It's surrounded by commercial uses and low-density single-family residential uses and planned development. Next slide. To provide a little bit of history for this particular site, on March 1st, 2019, the property owner was cited for cargo containers stored illegally on the property. It was determined that 2 of the 7 cargo containers were located in the required side street yard area off of Scotland Drive. Then in November of 2019, planning received an application for a special development permit to allow those 2 cargo containers in the side street yard area. Later in June of 2020, the Board of Supervisors approved an amendment to the zoning code which required that all cargo containers in existence before September 2015 come into compliance with current zoning code standards. So this required that the applicant apply for a minor use permit to allow the 7 cargo containers to remain on the property. Next slide, please. And one more. It looks like this is a repeat of the last. Thank you. So on April 21st of 2021, the zoning administrator first heard this project and requested that the minor use permit be included as a part of the current project request to be considered as a complete project. The applicant then submitted their application for a minor use permit, and then on September 15th, 2021, the zoning administrator again heard the project and denied the request for the special development permit. During that meeting, the zoning administrator also indicated that they were not supportive of a minor use permit to allow all 7 cargo containers to remain, but could be supportive of a minor use permit to allow no more than 2 of the cargo containers to remain. Next slide, please. So while the applicant continues to request a minor use permit to allow all the cargo containers to remain, they have worked with staff to update their materials to indicate which 2 cargo containers they would prefer to keep and where, if limited to only 2 containers. The request also continues to include a design review to comply with the countywide design guidelines. And as mentioned at that September 2021 meeting, the zoning administrator did take action on the special development permit where it was denied. Next slide, please. So this exhibit shows the location of the existing cargo containers. As mentioned, there are 7 cargo containers on the site. Next slide, please. This exhibit shows the location of the 2 cargo containers the applicant would like to keep, if limited to 2. The containers meet the use standards and setback standards of the zoning code as provided in the staff report. Next slide, please. This exhibit includes a removal and relocation plan. Given that the zoning code requires cargo containers come into compliance with the zoning code standards by July of 2023, staff is recommending that the zoning administrator allow for the removal and relocation of the existing cargo containers to the locations designated on the site plan to occur prior to July 1st, 2023. This is also included as a condition of the minor use permit. Next slide, please. So this project was heard by the Antelope CPAC back on March 5th, 2020. There was a motion to approve the request, which failed, resulting in a recommendation for denial. And then the draft met on May 28, 2020, and they recommended that the project be found in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines. Next slide, please. So given that the 2 cargo containers included on the site plan comply with the use and development standards, and as the size and scale of the 2 cargo containers is more appropriate for the 1.89 acre site within the single-family residential and commercial context, staff is recommending approval of the minor use permit as provided. Next slide, please. Specifically, staff is recommending that the zoning administrator recognize the exempt status of the request under CEQA, approve the minor use permit request subject to the findings and conditions included in the draft minor use permit presented, and find the project in substantial compliance with the design guidelines. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation today, and I am available for any questions the zoning administrator might have.
Thank you, Emma. I do not have any questions at this time. I will allow the applicant, Ms. Haga, to speak. First of all, I want to thank you for working with staff. I understand that you still would prefer to keep all 7 of the cargo containers, so I do appreciate you working with staff on a plan for which ones should remain and a timeline for removing the excess cargo containers. But I would like to give you an opportunity to speak on behalf of your request at this time.
Okay. Good morning. So I just want to reiterate that I've had this property since 1983, and I really want to keep the 3 containers that have been on my property for over 20 years. In 2001, when I got the containers, there were no regulations pertaining to the containers, number allowed, or location. 2015, the code was changed to limit the number of containers, and at that time I was told mine predated the code, therefore they were legally non-conforming and could stay. I was then told I had the 12.5-foot side street setback and containers needed to be relocated on the property. I was never notified of this side street setback change. You have disregarded the 2 permits I have from 1994 and 2004 that are stamped and signed by the planning department stating there are no side street setbacks. There is an 8-foot block wall 3 feet from the edge of Scotland. If there is this setback, the public does not have access to it. By enforcing the setback, you are preventing me from using 12.5 feet by 362 feet of my property. I already had to give you 55 feet by 212 feet across the front of my property to build my home. This is a total of over 16,000 square feet, which is 4/10 of an acre and 20% of my property that I can't use. I have built my home, accessory buildings, and poured cement parking and driveway based on the locations of these containers, which is the best use of my property. I understand that you are here because it's your job. I'm here because this is my home. How would you feel if you were told you had to move your garage or pool or driveway or shed or trees because all the information given to you for almost 40 years is different now? Please allow me to keep the containers, and I ask that you reconsider your decision on their locations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haygood. Are there any public comments on this item?
We currently do not have any public comments at the moment.
Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. Ms. Haygood, I understand that over the history of this site, the rules of the county's requirements have changed. While at one point in time, the board and our regulations did deem structures legal non-conforming, the board did change that provision and indicated that even pre-existing cargo containers would need to come into compliance with current standards. And so therefore my decision is to uphold the board's intent that cargo containers come into compliance, which means meeting setbacks and also looking at the number of cargo containers on a site and how that is consistent with surrounding neighborhood. So at this time, if I can ask for the previous slide to be submitted, be brought up on the screen, I'd like to make a motion. Thank you. I am going to recognize the exempt status of the request under Section 15301, Class 1 of the California Environmental Quality Act. I'm going to approve the minor use permit request subject to the findings and conditions, which include reducing the total number of cargo containers to 2 and moving the 5 cargo containers by July 1st of 2023. I also find that the project is in substantial compliance with the design guidelines subject to the findings and conditions listed in the staff report. With that, Ms. Haygood, you do have 10 days if you so desire to appeal this decision.
Okay.
That concludes this item. Next item on the agenda.
Item 3 is staff update.
Good morning. This is Chris Pahuli, Principal Planner. We do not have a staff update today. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. I don't have any comments or updates. Are there any non-agenda public comments?
There are currently no public comments at the moment.
Thank you. With that, I will close this meeting. It is 9:19 a.m.
Thank you, Wendy.